Michelle Graves, your host on The Power of Money, and I'm honored to have you as a part of my world in this coming segment. With The Power of Money, as you know, we are interested in three things. First, that you get the necessary education so that you and your family will have the information to do well in these difficult times. The second thing I'm interested in is for you to be empowered to prosper. I want only the best for you, but you can't get that if you don't have the education and then the drive to make it happen. And the final thing, and perhaps the most important thing, is that you be energized. Because life is more than a journey. Life is about living. And so I want you to learn these things and to be empowered and encouraged and energized. I'm Michelle Graves. Now here we go. And here we go on today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm your host, Michelle Graves, affectionately known for over 40 years, locally, nationally, internationally as the Money Lady. And again, providing you with information, resources, people, insights, observations, and just whatever the heck I want to talk about. I can do that now, okay? And so there's some that would argue, well, she's done that most of her life. Well, I'm telling you now, I really am doing it because it's just absolutely outrageous out here. It's so outrageous. But I'm going to be talking today about, again, as if you haven't heard enough of it, but more to come as this thing evolves and develops. And that has to deal with inflation and rearing its ugly head and how it's impacting on you and I, and some simple things that you can begin to do to prepare yourself for the days ahead. Do I feel that things are going to get better? No, I don't. Why, you say? Aren't you an optimist? I'm an economist. I don't put emotions on things because I just don't. But what I will say is that if you are prepared, you should get through this. I didn't say without scarring and without some evidence of having been through something. Change is not just upon us, as in coming. Change is officially here. And as I've said for the last year on The Power of Money and other venues, I don't care who's sitting in the seat. These are things that are in motion, and these are things that are not going to turn around. However, you can be financially prepared and you can survive, because the economic crush that we are experiencing is going to and is impacting every aspect of our life. Cannot be otherwise. So I can talk to you openly and frankly because I'm a little bit older, a little bit wiser. I've been through some other economic collapses. That's an extreme term, but economic corrections. That's what it is, where there's a rebalancing of everything as it affects you and I. And so the first thing I want to say right off the bat is I was watching a documentary last night about education, and which is very near and dear to me, and I'm going to tell all of you viewers why. America, the United States of America, presented to the population the whole concept of a public education where people could go to school free at the taxpayer's expense. Very balanced, equitable situation. Public education was available to everyone. The other thing that was absolutely unusual is that the libraries in the United States were, for the most part, public libraries. You'll see that. Public, open to the public. People could have access to information, books, everything free for the most part. The public library today is an incredible institution. computers and videos and seminar rooms and very knowledgeable and friendly librarians of all ages, and full of information to help you. Extraordinary. Now, given what I just told you, why did I hear last night that approaching 60% of our population in the United States was 6th grade and under? They didn't go any further than the 6th grade. They are illiterate. Did you hear me? 60, that, folks, that is frightening. You can't make decisions if you can't read or write or intelligently process information. That's what this whole show is about. Giving you information so you can go back and validate and research and make it yours. Make it yours. I'm giving it to you so that you can make it yours. And then to find out that you may not even be able to read this stuff or research or make decisions. And does it affect you financially? Hecky, yeah. Yeah, it does. It impacts on your jobs, what kind of jobs you'll get, what kind of occupation you'll have, how you'll raise your children, etc. And we're not talking about new immigrants coming in from other countries, because for the most part, the majority of them are educated and skilled. We're talking about United States of America, folks that came over here, parents, grandparents, left Europe. And we won't even get into why they left Europe, because Europe wanted them out of there. They were bringing nothing of value, so they came over here. Now to a land of opportunity, which it should have been and could be if you say so and order your steps accordingly. Because education in this country is virtually free. It really is. And it is a platform to take you into better things. Now, given this data, I had to kind of sort my brain out on what I wanted to talk about today, because one of the things I would like to know from all of my viewers are you able to process what I'm talking about? Is this stuff too intellectual, too over the top, too much? Because I'm scrambling on a daily basis. The information is coming so fast from all over the world today, thanks to the power of internet, the power of artificial intelligence. All of this stuff is just bombing me. And I know it's got to be bombing you, which is why I read that people aren't watching television anymore. Why? Because the news is always bad and they don't understand it. So they'd rather play a video game and or watch a TV, innocent stuff, rather than get deep into what's going on. This, as far as I am concerned, viewers, is powerful. Why? Because if you, as a citizen of this great nation, are not able to process facts and factual information, then you will fall back on emotions, which is how do you feel about something? Or if a person says something to you, does it move you to do certain things? The Capitol situation on January the 6th was an emotional expression. It was not based on facts. It was not based on information. And that's why the country split, because half the people understand it and half don't. So the ones that don't are triggered by emotions. Well, I don't like this, I don't like that. Well, this is a democratic country, and it is bound by a constitution that was framed by the founding fathers to, in fact, crystallize the essence of what this nation is about. Not perfection, but heck, you don't wake up in the morning with an AK-47 at your face, and that's what a lot of people and a lot of other governments are facing, out of controlism. We have an order. But if you're not able to process logically and factually information because of literacy issues, meaning I really never learned how to think, how to reason, and I'm gonna move with what moves me. And I'm like, no, that is not the way it works. Now, and I say that biasly from my perspective. I'm definitely not illiterate. I am highly educated. I'm a female, rah, and I'm Black. And so I can say to you very openly that I filter through a lot of garbage to find essential shifts that can help guide me and allows me to share with you. Well, like I said last night, I discovered that half of our country is 6th grade or under. And that changed my whole thinking, because if you have not learned basic reading, writing, arithmetic, then to talk about math, to talk about bacteria, to talk about COVID, and to give all this scientific information, which is what has been the protocol in this country. Let scientists give you the information. And people are like, I'm not feeling that. But note what I said, feel, emotion. It doesn't resonate because you don't have the data in your own mind to process it reasonably. Because, as I shared, you didn't make it through biology. You didn't make it through chemistry. And so there's a language out here that half our country does not understand at all. And I don't have an answer. 350 million people, okay? That's what the population is in the United States, and give or take. And people that basically work for a living. They're not the scientists, they're not the creators, they're not the business class, because that's where all the money is, the business class. And clearly, that's not what they are. They're working every day. They're trying to keep their bills paid, trying to keep a roof over their head, trying to keep their truck payment in place. And they're doing all kinds of stuff, legal and illegal, to keep that going, because that's what they believe emotionally in their heart, which is, I am entitled to have this stuff. And I'm entitled to enjoy this stuff because my ancestors out of Europe were treated like dogs and basically booted out, which is, I hope you can make it where you get, but we're not coming to get you if you don't. And that is major in terms of my ability to reason and rationalize. So, having gotten to this point, and I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I'm still thinking about it, but I will say to all of you listening, my communication style is getting ready to change so that I can kind of blend the two and go from there. And we'll start with some simple fundamentals, which is, it is your divine and human right to live in a country where you are loved, where you can prosper, and where you can take care of your family. That's the American model, okay? It did not happen in Europe, Because if it had happened, you wouldn't be over here, okay? Exceptions are the slaves, because the slaves are conscripted and forced on boats over here. But for everybody else, you came over here because you really thought it was going to give you a good or better life than what your parents, grandparents. I mean, in Europe, I'm not kidding you. Not only is it broker than broke, because the resources are in Africa, not in Europe, but it's cold. The people have a murky history, period. Do your research on Europe. Please do, because we've had 2 world wars involving power grabs in Europe, okay, for real. 2 major wars that almost destroyed the entire world, okay? And frankly, while Russia is not Europe, Russia is smack dab next to Europe and was a part of World War II and World War I on this same stuff, okay? So we're over here doing our little fancy dance and saying we're going to get it. But the flaw is, with all of the availability, we still, as a nation, didn't get it. So we've got a ton of our population, truthfully, that is struggling to make ends meet. Struggling. The stimulus bill was not about taking care of the rich, although they certainly benefited. It was really about making sure that the poor and the working class did not drown. Because if you can't make a living because of some kind of a plague, COVID, then the country, which depends upon you to spend your money that you make, they know full well, economists, we're trained. We know full well that you don't save any money because you can't, because you're not making enough money to save money. So then you get into forced savings, which is your 401k. Oh, we'll give you tax benefits to save your money for retirement, because we're not going to pay for you to be retired. Your Social Security is about it. That's it. Okay, and your little house and your 401k, which nobody ever taught you how to manage, because who needs to know how to manage their money when you're busy spending it? You understand what I'm saying here? Because I'm trying to simplify it so that you can get on with your life with awareness. It all begins with awareness. If you're not aware, then you'll go for anything. You will. You'll go for the broke. And many of us are broke, period. Been living from paycheck to paycheck. Now it is painfully obvious, given the shift in our economy, given the emphasis on technology, giving the emphasis on very highly skilled, highly trained computer people that know how this works. So where do you fit in? Well, I'm going to tell you where you fit in. The driving force in this country is still the working American, period. And if you can't make a livelihood that is not decimated by high gas prices, high rent, as well as high food and other necessities, then that's going to be a problem, okay? Because it is your income, the tax revenue off of your income, that provides the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, our bill collection agency, that does not have to use an appointed time to call you. They just take your stuff and tell you, see you later. It provides them with the revenue that is necessary to pay our $30+ trillion debt, which just went up another couple of billion, taking care of Ukraine, arming them, feeding them. I'm like, just keep printing the machine. Just keep printing the machine. But here is the fallacy. If the average working American cannot move beyond the emotional response to change, and the emotional response to change is fear, insecurity, anxiety. Is this you? Okay, drugs. Is this you? In Ohio it is. All of these are emotional responses to very real life situations. But if you cannot, because of literacy issues, because you've never been trained through the academic process to reason and think, then every response you're going to have is going to be a rat tat 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 tat, a rat tat 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 tat. Let me kill somebody. Yes, because what else can you do to foster a change that you had no part in other than being the victim? And here you go. All right, here you go. So I'm going to say to you relative to inflation, and I'm going to talk a language in a way that will simplify it so that you can make decisions. Decision number one, and I'm going to say this before giving all the rest. Lock down your emotions. Lock them down. Tell your brain, your subconscious, I'm not going for this. I'm not going to be used by anybody based on my emotions. Because absence of intellect means you are dependent upon your emotions, which will fail you every time. Every time. Your mind speak, how you process information. If it is not based upon rational reasoning and thinking, which is the other side of the fence, then you're going to fall back to emotions every time. Okay, you're going to kick the dog, you're going to beat your wife, she's going to beat you back, the kids are going to run away and become drug addicts, and you're going to cry out to the Lord. What happened here? Again, going back to that statistic I heard yesterday on the number of uneducated Americans. And the fact is, if you don't have an education and a set learning skill, it is a process. In education, you learn how to think, you learn how to reason, you learn how to look at objectively situations without falling apart emotionally. So number one, the information I'm going to give you is not based upon emotions. It's based upon facts. Now, it's up to you to process what I'm going to give you so that it becomes real for your family, so that you do not become a castaway trying to figure out how you're going to make it in a country really and truly that's in a place. I'm not going to say on record what I really think, but I am going to say that you need to prepare yourself and your family without emotions. It doesn't take emotions to make a decision that we're going to have to spend a whole lot less. That's not an emotional decision. That's based upon how much income you're bringing in, your expenses, and how much you got to pay out. That's what that is. It also means that you don't have to spend a lot of money on anything because stuff is everywhere. Stuff is everywhere. Walmart's getting ready to go into, huge sale because they got too much inventory. Stuff is everywhere. So you sit down with your family and you say to them, we work in an industry that is impacted by the economy. And I don't know if I'm going to lose my job or not. I don't. But if I do lose my job, we as a family are going to step it up. And that means, Junior, you're going to cut grass. Sissy, you're going to babysit. Mom's going to get a job. I'm going to work 2 jobs. We're going to get through this, and we may have to get rid of Spot the dog because he eats too much. And if we can't take care of him rather than ourselves, then something has to give. That's called rational thinking, moving beyond your emotions. Now, inflation is going to continue to push the price up on everything. Okay, how did it happen? Easy breezy. It happened because COVID showed up and wreaked havoc on everybody's ability to work. And work means bringing items from point A to point B, which is what you guys do. You drive trucks, you work in factories, you may even sell things in retail, but stuff has to move. And if it doesn't move, a law in economics is that if it doesn't move, you're done. So that's where we are. Stuff hasn't moved. Stuff is moving slowly now, but we still got major bottlenecks globally. Right, half of the solar panels globally are made in China, and they're dealing with an economy, and they're back to dealing with COVID. So again, they don't play. They shut everything down, and they don't really care whether you can eat or not. They certainly don't care if their people can eat or not. Hope you put away some food for a rainy day. But I'm saying all this because this is not going to get resolved quickly. Rent is going through the roof. If you're renting, I don't have to tell you. So how are you going to pay your rent? Well, with most people, if rent's going up, you begin to get roommates. It's not the ideal situation, but you're not out on the street, period. Hungry. And I say hungry because food banks are going broke. Why? Because grocery stores don't have extra product and inventory to donate. They're on a tight leash trying to take care of their stockholders and their customers. So I'm telling you as simply as I can, as simply as I can, now is the time to sit down with your family, and you don't have to be eloquent and you don't have to be all that smart. But you do have to have basic instinctual, I didn't say emotional, instinctual survival skills, which is what do we need to do as a family to survive? And then do it. And then doesn't matter how Junior feels about cutting grass. Well, I want to play video. Cut the grass. Cut the weeds. Do stuff. Really. Sissy, those kids are bad. You were bad. Babysit. Excuse me. Mom. Everybody's hiring. You got babies? Open up the house for childcare. Everybody's hiring. Everybody's doing stuff. It doesn't have to feel good. It just has to happen. So, inflation is not going to simmer down anytime soon. We got a long road with this stuff, for real. And unfortunately, once prices go up, they don't go back down. So what happens is that people ratchet up to be able to pay more, or pay more and get less. Because if you haven't noticed, packaging today has changed. Now, how would manufacturers know this? Know to package cheaper, to package smaller, to charge the same price, so you are actually getting less for your money. How would they know that? Strategically, how would they know that? Because most of them run their companies based on facts and data and not based on emotion. All right? Highly skilled, highly trained, highly educated. Yeah, they are. Elon Musk is not illiterate. Neither is Mr. Bezos. Or, for that matter, most corporate CEOs. Excuse me, folks. The studio is dusty. I apologize. But the information is not dusty. So listen in. So we've got these situations, and they're upon us. And I would suggest to you that you do what is needed to do and live with less. You don't need 3 cars. Okay? You don't. You need a good car that can load stuff that you may be able to sleep in if you get pressed. Okay? You do. An electric car? Nice. Is it affordable? Does it have longevity? Particularly when they're looking at other forms of power beside electric. Yeah, they're on that trajectory now. Because lithium batteries are a problem. They are. Okay? So you got to look at that as well. Well, my friend got this. I'm not thinking about your friend. I'm talking to you about your situation and what you're going to do. And yes, the kids are welcome home if they work. They're not welcome home to look around and look at you. They got to produce. You're a producing unit. You are a business. Yeah, you're a business. And you got to work it like that as a business. No freeloading. No emotional response because you're freeloading. Okay, go back to, what's that TV series, Breaking Bad, where Jesse got put out of his deceased aunt's house because he was doing meth and doing everything and just a bum. And his parents finally said, you're done, out, bye. And Jesse freaked out, you remember? Or maybe you don't. Go back and watch it. It's enlightening. It's insightful. It really is. It's insightful. I mean, it's insightful. But my point is, don't have anybody around you who is not productive. Okay? For those of you that are older ladies, there's a crisis in childcare. They can't find babysitters to watch these children, so women can't go to work. Guess what? Haven't you raised children? Now, before you say, I don't think I can take children, can you take starvation? Just asking. Just trying to get you to think a little differently. What else has inflation impacted on? Inflation has encroached upon every aspect of your life. Every aspect of your life has been impacted by prices. Even if you are older, you're still dealing with inflation in the form of higher medical costs, higher medical expenses, higher drug costs. Don't get sick, please. And don't think bill collectors are out of business, because they're not. They're out here and they're collecting. Well, they can't collect if I don't have it. Well, that's interpretive. They can put liens by filing in court so that when you do have money, they can come and get your money from them. Don't go there. Begin to look at every resource that is available and know full well, and please, my God, I do understand about climate. And I do understand because I am really into climate and animals and plants and all that good stuff. Been, not new, been. Because if the animals and plants aren't making it, you aren't either. We're all tied together, okay? If the air is bad, you're breathing it. Guess what? Cancer's real. Keep breathing bad air and drinking bad water. Because we're in a worldwide crisis on water, okay? And the air is just what it is, unless you're way out in the rural area, and hope that you can breathe. And then you got to deal with your water supply. So I'm trying to say to you that we're in a changing season, we're in a changing time. COVID triggered, but inflation is taking it. Our government and all governments, not just our government, all governments are trying to get a hold on this inflation because it will crush your currency. It will crush it. it's worth less. And it's the higher it goes, the less it works. Now, our government economists say, oh, but we've got great employment. Excuse me, $15 an hour, $20 an hour is not going to cut it with rent increases, food increases, gas increases, and everything else. Not going to cut it. So you say, okay, Miss Graves, what do you advise? And I just told you, you need to sit down, and of course, you can have a talk with God, but I encourage you to have a talk with yourself and begin to look at how you can alter your course and begin to do things that reflect on your desire to get through this. And that includes eating right. For real. You know junk food is just that, junk. So you want to feed yourself junk so you'll be sick in a couple of years, so your kids will be obese and they'll be sick with diabetes as children, so that your wife can be obese, so that you can tell her, sweetheart, you're a little big, and she looks at you and she says, well, I thought you were pregnant. I mean, people, what? It's real. So here's my thoughts. And again, I'm just being open. All this stuff you're seeing on the news, separate emotion from fact, and then get real personal and ask yourself, what does this have to do with me and my family? For real. And I'm not going to get into the politics of Ukraine, because I talked about that before. Ukraine is a world breadbasket, been a world breadbasket, and if the Russians have anything to do with it, their goal is for it to become their breadbasket, okay, to feed their population and the population of people that they're allies with. There's never been a confusion about Russia's agenda as far as I am concerned, because they have been through 2 world wars. They've experienced starvation. They've experienced a serious proletariat revolution led by Lenin. They've watched Mao Zedong in China. They've had a lot to watch. And we've been over here break dancing, hot panting, and just being Pepsi generation people. Children. The world is not like that. People wake up every day hungry. Husbands wake up every day not having employment. There are countries where cannibalism has been practiced during famines, and the United Nations knows if we don't feed these people, they're going to eat their children. Yeah. How you like that? And we're over here fighting Roe versus Wade, and they are eating their children because they're hungry. It's something weird about that whole comparison. Okay? Just something a little weird. So, again, going back to how to get through this, self-awareness, family awareness, neighborhood awareness. If you live in a neighborhood, I hope you know your neighbors, okay? And I hope you're there, and I hope they can count on you at a certain level to help. Learning these things, and then laying out a plan. What are some things that you can do? Again, back it up on all that meat. It's too expensive anyway. And begin to develop a love relationship with real plant food. Greens and kale and tomatoes and mushrooms, and you can eat meat sparingly and not often, particularly red meat. And I'm not going to start rallying around the chickens, but as that one commercial says, eat more chicken. long as it's properly prepared and processed. You do not want chicken that has not been treated well and is full of steroids and real fat and juicy. That chicken is full of chemicals. Look for cheaper chickens. Talk to your farming friends, okay? The friends that you know that are on farms, and see if you can't work something out with them. I get my eggs, real eggs, not city eggs, because I'm a country girl, but real eggs from a farmer in Lebanon, Ohio. And they raise chickens the way they're supposed to be. They just let them run around and eat. And the eggs are huge and delicious. They are so delicious. I wouldn't spend a dime on a city retail grocery store chicken egg, period. And I'm just being honest with you. These are not things that you think about, but as you become more self-aware, meaning I want to live, you'll not do those things. Same thing with water. Anytime they can discover polio in the water, which is how they know polio is over here, that should tell you something about the water. I'm like, what? Do you not see it? They found COVID in the water. Okay, and yet people say, oh, Miss Graves, you're just paranoid. Really? Well, I tell you what. You take your little scientific emotional cap and you go down to the water and you pull out a sample, and when you see that bacteria, drink it. Okay, you don't have to go to Flint, Michigan and experience lead poisoning. You can experience poisoning from your rivers and tributaries that we drink from. Okay, and we trust the report of our governmental agencies, because why would they lie to us? Well, I'm saying to you, at the point they said it, and not to be facetious, but I did tell you polio was coming back. And if you're fussing and upset about mask wearing with COVID, I don't know what you're going to do with polio. Self-awareness again. Am I vaccinated? Oh, I don't believe in vaccines. No problem. Don't believe in them, but do it anyway, because belief is an emotion. Belief is not a fact. So, I don't believe in vaccines. I don't believe in any. Then get polio. And I will tell you, polio makes COVID look like kindergarten. Yeah, it does. Highly infectious, highly contagious, and you have to be vaccinated. Okay? Ask everybody else in the world what that looks like. But again, the emotions attached to masks and distancing and all of the things that are emotional, which is, you're not going to make me believe that. I'm not trying to make you believe anything, because it's not me, it's you. But I am trying to help you to understand the basis for why you believe what you believe. And that comes out of an emotional response to information that is unpleasant, which is, I don't like the way this is happening. I don't like the findings. It doesn't matter. That's emotional, and you're speaking out of your emotions, how I feel, and then get your family involved. You're going to hurt my family, and then here you are. I'm talking today about change. Change is not coming. Change is here, and that this is what you must begin to do now. You don't like your husband and wife because you found out during COVID that you didn't know each other, or your kids were not what you thought. Thank God for COVID. Do I believe in divorce? No, I don't. I do not, because you will have less money divorced than you ever had being together. That's a fact. And people that are on the lower threshold will fare even worse because there's less money to begin with. And now you're going to divorce and then split everything, which means less for everybody. Well, I just can't take it. Well, again, is that the truth? Or is that your filtering out of your emotions? Now, granted, with some people, divorce is a very good option. I mean, for real. But just be aware factually that you will have less disposable income as two separate entities than as one. That's a fact. You can pull up the data. They've already tracked it. Well, I'll give her this and I'll give her that and she can, and I'll take this. No, you will die a very lonely man. That's what will happen to you because the data says so. Men don't do well when they're single. They don't. Women don't remarry, but men cannot be single. So, do you go with what you know? Or do you throw it to the wind and go with what you think you know? I'm not advising because I'm not a psychologist. I'm just saying to you, I look at data a lot and it tells me a story. And that if you are a single man, you better make some moves because it's getting ready to get tight. It's getting ready to get tight. It is. And you can't do it all by yourself. You cannot. And I say this for single women as well. You can't do it all by yourself. It's hard. It's hard. And the whole issue of partnering and working together, that is an outcome of COVID. I really do believe it's a God thing where He wants us to learn how to work together and how to share and how to partner and how to be authentic and how to be transparent because you surely cannot lie when you're with people every day. They know you. I mean, when you look at television and you see the characters, you begin to see patterns with those characters that have caused the situations that they are in. That's real life, by the way. It's real life. So, again, I need you to rethink a lot of things and recognize that change is going to force you to rethink. So you want to rethink from a position of balance and educated information. I'm one venue. I'm not the only venue, as you know, but I'm credible. You can actually apply those principles I've shared with you over the years and do better for yourselves and your families. You can do that. You can begin to lay out steps so that you can live a better quality life in spite of inflation. A lot of people are going to lose weight because they aren't going to be able to stuff themselves anymore. They're not. They're going to have to eat healthy and wisely. They're not going to be running out to restaurants all the time because they're not going to be able to afford it. Even if they drop the prices down to $1, which some have, and you and I know that's not food. I don't know what it is, but at $1 for a meal, that's not food. It is not. But if you want to think that, then go right ahead. Well, I've got to have this. Now you're into your emotions again. You're not into truth. But if emotions drive you, this is not a good time in history to be playing because emotions are getting ready to show you and I a lot. It is. It's going to have you believing in people without facts. It's going to have you following people without informed choice making. It's going to wreck up your family while they run away free. You think about that? Your family's boosh, and they're having a great life. They haven't lost any sleep. They haven't done anything. And you're looking at your kids, and your kids are looking at you like, geez, he's really not very bright. And I can tell you, they're right. They're right. You're not very bright. You're making decisions that don't make any sense, and therefore you're enabling your family to suffer. I mean, for real, to suffer. You think about that. Your wife, your children, your family suffering because of your inability to move beyond your emotions, which I got my mind made up based on what? Well, my friend told me that. Have you looked at your friend's situation? Do you really think you know people like that? What they show you is not what is necessarily happening when they close the door to their home. Take care of your home. Change is here. Inflation is not going away anytime soon, particularly given the fact that we continue to give away a ton of money based on the hard-working backs of the American people. Yeah, I'm not emotional about that. I want to take care of my people, the American citizens. That's my agenda. Don't talk to me about nothing else right now. Really? Because I don't know enough to say anything other than my commitment is to educate and empower my people, the American people, who are over here. Whatever your race, whatever your tribal associations, wherever, my commitment is we got to get through this. So I conclude today's session a little bit off task because I had a different show, but that just really bothered me about that literacy thing. And if you can't read, there are plenty of resources. Go into Google and type illiteracy and see if you can't get involved in a class to learn how to read and write. It's never too late and you're never too old. Okay? I'm Michelle Graves, and thank you for being a part of The Power of Money. Change is here. See you next week. Bye-bye.